There we go. You should get a recording in progress. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get started. So again, I'm David Toby. I'm the Executive Director of the National CyberWatch Center. Tonight, we're going to talk about a program that we've been developing for several years and is in the process of launching in regions all over the country and supported by a number of events that we operate. And that's called the Cyber Ready Professional Skill to Succeed program. It's a mouthful, but Cyber Ready, the ready word specifically, stands as an acronym, right? It stands for Regional Educational Alliances for Developing Young, and then, of course, Professional Skills to Succeed. And it really addresses a huge gap in the marketplace where employers are looking for people with a certain profile, and that profile often doesn't exist. And those who are seeking jobs are looking for jobs that allow them entry into the profession, but really entry-level jobs don't exist. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of that. We have another webinar that specifically addresses these trends in the workforce that you can look for on our on the National Cybersecurity Student Association YouTube channel and the CyberWatch Center YouTube channel. But we'll talk a little bit about that tonight, and then we repeat these throughout the year, so you'll have an opportunity to catch up on that. We always update them with the latest and greatest because that dynamic of the workforce needs and whatnot changes on a regular basis. So do keep an eye open for our announcements of future sessions. And as I'll mention towards the end, that you'll want to make sure that you get on your calendar the in-person events, because it's a great opportunity not only to hear the updated version of these presentations that we do, but many valuable presentations from faculty, students, practitioners, policymakers from all over the country that come to our events. And it's also a phenomenal networking opportunity. But again, we'll talk more about that because that's all really key to this Cyber Ready program. So let's talk first just a little bit about what's going on out there. We spend a lot of time working with employers and with especially the professional services sector, which is the largest employer of cybersecurity professionals. A lot of folks thinking, well, I'll go get a job for this bank or that bank. And yeah, there are some banks that, as VJ, as you were kind of mentioning, that hire cyber professionals. But honestly, the vast majority of banks are very small. It's only the largest ones that actually have cyber teams. And everybody else is really looking to outsource their cybersecurity functions to a consultant, to a professional services firm. So a real key aspect of this is really preparing yourself for that by developing the kind of skills that are needed to run your own practice, to set up your own practice in doing cyber assurance and cyber assessment and cyber remediation. All of those types of services are what organizations are looking to contract for more than they are looking to hire for. So those skills that people are looking for means you certainly have to have relevant IT work experience. That's where it all starts. Unfortunately, a lot of people have thought of cyber and even more unfortunately, some of those in the field have tried to project cyber as a specialty, something that is unique to itself. And there are certainly aspects of cybersecurity that are very specialized and very unique. And again, in our webinar about the trends in the workforce, we talk about those. But the vast majority of those types of career positions are very small in terms of the demand. And in fact, they'd be even smaller if the people who really are important to cyber were doing their jobs effectively. And that's the people in the IT workforce. I like to use the analogy of law enforcement. It has a lot of overlap with cyber, obviously, with the forensics that we have to do and the investigations and, of course, the crimes that are created. Cyber is a bit like us leaving doors and windows open every day and wondering, why do we need so many police? Well, if we make it easy for people to open their doors and windows, yeah, everyone's going to get in. And that happens because IT workers are not performing their roles securely. The vast majority of the IT workforce has very little cybersecurity capability, and therefore they are continually doing things that leave open and vulnerable systems to penetration and exploitation. So much more emphasis is being placed on that relevant IT work experience. 29 to 35% of those looking to hire people, that's the thing they start with. So a good third if you don't have that, you're not even going to get those opportunities. The next group is another roughly third, now a little bit more than a third, 38 to 44% of those looking to hire, again, either directly or through contract, are looking for people who aren't really specifically about their technical skills. It's about their critical thinking and communication abilities, right? It's because if you can't explain to somebody why they should be doing something, or why what they've done has created a concern or has actually led to some form of opening for a cyber hacker, then they're not going to do anything about it. And you have to be able to look at all the different conditions and situations that are presented to a particular organization, determine which really are the ones that are needed, action is needed, and make the appropriate decisions about what to do. So that's critical thinking. And those are skill sets that usually are referred to as soft skills. So you could think of the IT work experience as hard skills, technical skills, and the critical thinking communication abilities as soft skills. The problem with that characterization is actually IT skills are a lot easier to learn than the critical thinking and communication skills that are really needed. And so in effect, we really should be reversing that and calling the IT the soft skill, and the critical thinking, communication abilities, and other managerial like functions like project management and time management. Those are the things that most people find much harder to develop, and takes more time and a lot more experience before you truly become a master of these, if you will, soft but really hard skills, right? So those are becoming much more predominant, which also means that what those who are looking to hire professional help are looking for is someone who has demonstrated these by being a presenter at a meeting or a conference where they've shown that they possess the communication ability, and that they also possess certain critical areas of expertise that show that indeed they can be a critical thinker by bringing up issues, points, findings, especially findings from evidence that demonstrate that they have an insight that the organization is missing. And that's what most people say when they're saying critical thinking. What they're really saying is, I want somebody to give me some insight to what's going on. Give me some insights to what we should do about it. Meaning that they have a perspective that is missing in that organization. And the best way to demonstrate that is by presenting at a conference or a meeting some aspect of the cybersecurity field that you have found personal passion in, have conducted the analysis of, or at least have read widely about analyses that others have done, and can synthesize that into a presentation of, these are the issues, these are the most effective practices to address those issues, and under these conditions, this particular practice is better than this particular practice. Again, that choice between what do I do here and what do I do there, often referred to as situational awareness or situational expertise, is really what people mean when they say critical thinkers. They want somebody who could figure out when to do it, and of course how to do it, which gets us back to the IT part. So that then translates to, okay, if I have both of those, and now if I can demonstrate I've done this for some people with relevant work experience, again, another third is, have you been working with others? Now, of course, if a third of the job openings are requiring experience, well, you can't use that as an entry level into the workplace, right? It's a chicken and the egg problem, right? It's like, well, how do I get the experience if I don't have the experience, and nobody will hire me without experience? And that is a big problem in our field. Many of the jobs, now again, that differs from contracts, but many of the jobs expect you to have 5 or more years of work experience. And if you're just coming into the field, how do you get those 5 years of work experience? Well, that's where the contracts come in. If you have these first two, you can begin to offer services to those who are in need and gain the work experience that the others are looking for. So that's really what Cyber Ready ultimately is about. So what are some of these roles? Well, again, as I said, there are specialist roles, but really where the job openings are and where the greatest demand is for contract services are in these 3 basic areas at the bottom. They're looking for people who have experience in securing networks and doing secure networking. They have people interested in developing technologies and doing that securely. So secure coding in the case of programming, or secure engineering in the case of architecture. And they need people who can help the users, who often are very ignorant of what they're doing that could cause security issues, and supporting them, either preventing issues by ensuring that people are using the technologies in secure ways, or obviously if an issue has arisen, being able to quickly identify, critically think about what's happening, identify the issue, remediate that issue, and make it go away. And that's the role of an IT support person. So all three of these base fundamental jobs are really where it all starts. And so getting entry into the field means mostly choosing one of these three that you would enter the field from, and then eventually becoming more of a specialist. Okay. So the good news is, as I said, there's lots of open jobs. I'm sure you've heard, the press talk about there's 3 million open jobs. Yes, there are, but those 3 million jobs are not up here in the specialists. They're down here in these three areas, and along with a couple others, right? Like risk assessment, for instance. That's where those jobs are. In fact, systems engineering, code development and other things like that, it is well over a third or more of the open positions are in that area alone. So having programming expertise is really valuable in today's marketplace. So how can we help you stand out as a potential applicant, either to get a contract position or to get an employment position? That's really what we're going to talk about tonight. So what makes CyberReady different from perhaps other programs you may be familiar with? There's really three key things. One, we start with not what you have learned. This is not a program that will evaluate you, will seek to grade you, right? It is not about the degree you're going to get. It is about how do we help make sure you're ready to learn, you're ready to become certified, and of course, you're ready to perform, you're ready to work. So it really focuses on what are your impediments. We use diagnostic assessments that enable you to get a profile of areas that you have demonstrated the readiness to succeed in, and areas that you don't yet have that readiness to succeed and need to fill in some gaps. And those gaps usually are caused by things like a misconception about how things work, or about how to perform a particular function, or even something simple of what does this concept even mean, right? So we utilize these readiness assessments, as we call them, to start to create a profile of you that can be very personalized, so that you, number one, can present to prospective opportunities for career positions what it is you can do for them day one. And then they don't have to worry about where you went to school, what kind of other things you've done. They know that that profile means, okay, you've got these 7 or 8 things that I really need right now. Yeah, maybe you don't have these other 20. Who cares? I need to do these 7 or 8 right now. So why don't we hire you to do that? And we'll get you additional training to do these other things, or you'll do that training on your own. And once you're ready for that, then you could expand the number of services that you're ready to offer. So that profiling we call capability maturity profiling. And that's where it all begins. Then once we've identified what your profile is, we also know what it is you're missing. So the profile is very useful to establish your strengths, present you in the best light to those who need it, and actually serve as a way to match you with openings that are a good match for your current capability. But in many cases, probably all cases, there'll be areas that you're not strong in. Everybody isn't strong at everything, right? Nobody, I should say, is strong at everything. Everyone has weak spots. And so the profile will identify areas where there is a need for improvement. Then we bring in what we call competency-based mastery learning curriculum. This is online curriculum that is designed to be personalized and also available 24/7 that you can access over the web and work through at your own pace to close those gaps that are preventing you from perhaps performing certain functions or roles or getting certain positions. And then as you perform those, we also do assessments. So we do assessments at the beginning, and we're assessing you continually in this process to make sure you're first proficient. That means you understand what to do and how to do it. And then you're competent at applying what you've understood so that you can perform things effectively and consistently. And then finally, we will also assess when you've achieved mastery. Mastery meaning that not only can you do this consistently and effectively, but given a situation that is a little different than what you've seen in the past, you can adapt what you know and what you can do to meet that unfamiliar or novel situation. And that really is ultimately what defines an expert, and what people ultimately want to hire as an expert is someone who can not only do what they've done 100 times. Honestly, if it's something that is that simple to repeat in these days, especially the days of a growing AI community, what do we need you for, right? If it's that simple that just doing it once will allow you to do it over and over again, or doing it a few times, you can repetitively do it, I'll get a computer to do that. Where we need you and your expertise as a human being is when, well, yeah, I've done this and I've done that, but this particular situation is a little different. So I need to think about how to adapt what I've done before to meet those new requirements. Computers and AIs don't do that very well. In fact, they're horrible at it. So that's where people make a difference. And therefore, we need to move you from just being proficient and competent to truly being a master. And so these assessments will determine your progression along that pathway and can offer credentialing, micro credentials, badges that indicate you're proficient at this, you're competent at that, you're a master of this. And that would add to your profile. Okay. And then finally, to address that issue of, well, I need experience. How do I get experience if I don't have experience? Well, you do that through what we call the resident internships. So the Cyber Ready program will assign, given your capability profile, assign you to organizations that need those services while you're in the learning phase. And it's very similar to what we've done in lots of other professions that have similar needs. I'm sure I probably don't need to tell you that if you were going to need a root canal, let's say, which is a very painful procedure, you're not going to go onto a dentist who said, yeah, I just heard about it. I read something about that last week, right? That'd be pretty scary. Or a doctor, right? You have a heart attack. You don't want to go to your doctor and say, oh, yeah, well, I stayed at Holiday Inn, if you've seen that commercial, and therefore, well, this is the first time I've ever done this, but I'll look at the book and try to figure it out while I'm working on you. You'd be like running away, right? Let me go find somebody who's done 1,000 of these or 50,000 of these, because I want to make sure that my heart is still beating when they're done, right? And that means you need them to have practiced what they are going to do on you before they ever get to you. Well, that's what a resident intern does. And residencies in the medical field that most people are familiar with is where a doctor learns to become a doctor by working on patients while they're in medical school, supervised by professionals in the field. So that's what the Cyber Ready resident internship is. Now, for that to happen, it has to be at a Cyber Ready clinic. And Cyber Ready clinics are associated with educational institutions. Typically, they're at community colleges because of their focus on just what their name is, the community. So they have close relationships with the business community, and therefore citing the clinic at their location makes the most sense. But even while a clinic might be at a community college, they have direct connection with the universities that are teaching these tools. And so students from both university and community colleges can be involved in one of these clinics, as well as professionals from the community who would like to gain this expertise. So that's what a resident internship's about. So how does this overall program work for you? First, got to apply for it. So as I said, that application begins with our assessment of your current capability maturity. So we know what your profile is, what you can do, and what it is you're not yet ready to do that needs additional coaching and development. Okay, so that's the applicant phase. Then once you've gone through the applicant phase and we've enriched your profile suitably that you can then begin to perform some of these roles and functions, you move into the resident intern phase where you're continuing to learn, but learning through now application and presenting evidence-based practices to a client Now, that evidence-based practice is a very key term. It's not one, I will tell you, that most in cyber today use. It is very commonly used, again, in the medical profession, in aviation, and a number of other areas, because they've perfected the science of making sure that the interventions they're using are really going to be effective because they've examined them experimentally. They've examined them across many, many different situations that have been aggregated and analyzed to determine what really will be the impact of this particular technique under a certain set of conditions. And that analysis, by the way, is called a meta-analysis. Meta being across many different types of settings. And so we don't have many of these meta-analyses in cybersecurity, but the programs that we're developing as part of Cyber Ready, we also have the Cyber Ready Research Network. And that's what our researchers around the US and increasingly growing internationally are working on. They're identifying what are these evidence-based practices. That's a way that the universities work with the colleges. They're researching the evidence-based practice and providing them to the college to execute. And then as the college executes those things, we take the results of that execution back to the university as data to be analyzed to ensure that we get a better understanding of the effectiveness of that particular tool or technique. So evidence-based practice is one of the most important things we need to develop in this field. Here's the great news. Because it's new, if you're early on in the adoption personally of an evidence-based approach, you're immediately going to differentiate yourself in the labor market because there just aren't that many who can say to an employer or to a client, the likelihood of this working is X. It's based on this set of research. We have a good understanding of what we should be doing in this situation. Or, you know what? It's not clear exactly what we should do in this situation. And so we need to be a little bit more cautious because people have tried this and people have tried that, but the effective rates have not been established yet. And that gives a client especially comfort that, okay, you're going to make sure that you only take deliberate action when you're absolutely certain it's appropriate to do so. And you're going to be careful and mindful when action needs to be a little bit more tentative. So being an evidence-based practitioner is one of the easiest ways to start to break into the field as a relative novice because you're approaching it now with the benefit of the research that has been done to support the work you're going to do. And we teach you how to do evidence-based practices at our conferences and other programming. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so after we've identified your profile, we've built out that profile through the resident intern phase and giving you the experiences. And that really is the key thing. It's not experience really that employers want, right? Everybody, I'm sure, knows someone who's had 1 year of experience, 5 or 6 years of a time, right? They've done the same thing for 5, 6, 10, 20 years. They haven't really learned anything. They do everything the same as they've done for the last 10 or 15 years. That's not really what people want in cyber because the world's changing all the time and we're constantly facing different types of threat landscapes. So we don't want somebody who's just done the one thing over and over and over again. So it's really not experience that's important. What is important is experiences, plural, that you've seen lots of different environments, different configuration, different sets of applications, different operating systems, and how this particular malware or other threat appears and impacts those varying environments. So it's the variation of experiences that really is key. And it's hard to get variation of experience, in fact, almost impossible in school, because you're taught labs that have, sort of one answer or very limited variability. And so that really doesn't help you address a problem that could be quite variant, quite different from what you saw in the lab. In fact, almost radically different. Most of the educational labs today, for instance, are built using Linux, a version of Unix, right? The vast majority of companies, however, use a Microsoft platform. Well, immediately that's a problem. So you learn it on Linux and then you go to the Microsoft platform and it works totally differently. And so you don't know how to apply it. And they're not going to let you get close to their Microsoft platform if all you did was learn it on Linux. So you need to be exposing yourself to lots of different environments. And the way to do that is through these internships where you're assigned a particular client that perhaps has something slightly different, but where your capability profile indicates you're ready to adapt what you've learned to these new settings. Then, after you've done that, you're now ready to move into the final phase, and that's the sponsored service phase. So the sponsored service is where an employer or a client is basically asking to employ you to provide clinical assessments, to provide clinical remediation issues, or to be employed on a probationary period, typically referred to as apprenticeship, where you might be employed for a year or more. Okay, so let's break down each of these in a little bit more detail. So during the applicant phase, which is the phase you will begin with and one that you could start very shortly, I'll give you a link at the end of this presentation about where to get started. So that will begin with our providing to you a set of diagnostic assessments that will give us that profile, but then more importantly, allow us to determine how to coach you so that you can develop the capabilities needed to be a good match for the kind of positions or functions that you look to serve. Okay. We're supported in this by the world's largest cybersecurity firm, Accenture. They're also a very large professional services firm. And so Accenture has developed a huge library of instructional materials to help you develop those hard skills, meaning the ones everybody else calls soft. Those, how do I think critically? How do I manage my time? How do I manage a client project? How do I manage, the varying aspects of communicating and thinking through a problem? Okay. So that Skills to Succeed Academy, that all is free material that we make available to you in this program and gives you a pathway to begin to develop those that our assessments indicate might be a weakness for you today. At the same time, you're assigned or can be assigned a professional success coach. So these are people who are certified by the International Coaching Federation as coaches, and therefore they can help guide you using coaching techniques to address the planning and the execution that will prepare you for the outcome of a capability demonstration, the third part of the applicant phase. So that has two parts to it. You can do both, or you can do just one of the two. First part is the presentation of, or the dialoguing about, conversing about the evidence-based practices that are needed to be successful in the field, and having poster sessions about what you have found. And so therefore establishing your expertise by a presentation of a particular topic that will distinguish you in the field. So we call that the Cyber Science and Practice poster sessions, and they occur at our various events, which again, I'll talk about more in a minute. The other thing that occurs at these events, and they happen regionally as well as nationally, is the talent fair. So I'm sure, you've probably heard of something called a job fair, right? And maybe even have been to a job fair. Job fair is where an employer has a booth and job seekers wander around these booths and hope to find a job. But there's a problem. The employers don't know what they're going to see. They don't know if you're going to be a good match for them or a bad match for them. And they don't want to waste time of their very expensive and valuable people that are involved in hiring. So they don't send them. Instead, they send somebody who's going to hand out some marketing material and take your name. You might go to this job fair thinking, hey, I'm going to get a job. And then you walk up to one of these tables and there's not a hiring manager there. There's somebody handing you some material that probably you could find it if you were diligent enough. You'd find online, and you didn't really need to get a paper version of it. Nobody really wants that anymore anyway. You could have just gotten the digital version right there. So it really doesn't work for either side, does it? Now, in some ways it does, because at least you become aware of each other. You become aware that this particular company is looking for people, and they become aware that you are looking for a job. That's where it ends. Both parties, in effect, lose, or certainly don't accomplish their goals. A talent fair is the reverse of that. In a talent fair, you, the job seeker, have a booth. And we utilize these assessments that I mentioned earlier and that capability profile that they produce to match you with employers that are looking for exactly that, or at least something along those lines. chances are you won't be 100% matched, but that's okay. Because if you're matching much of what they need, they'll be happy to fill in those gaps by supporting your continual development. They don't expect anymore to find 100% matches because they know those don't exist. That's why they're still looking. So finding somebody who's a 65%, 70%, 80% match, terrific. I can put you to work today in the areas you've got capability, and I can get you the training you need to fill in the gaps that you need in order to be able to do other things. So that talent fair allows employers to find exactly what they're looking for and you to be matched to exactly who's a good fit for you. Everybody wins. Okay. So that's another option. So at these events that we call the Cybersecurity Capabilities and Careers Symposia, or 3CS, you'll have the opportunity to both present poster sessions and work with people to develop the poster sessions that will showcase a particular area of expertise in the field that you've developed. And just like we do with the talent fair in terms of helping you develop that plan and executing that plan to showcase the right capabilities in your booth, we also have session proposal development workshops where you're coached on how to build these poster sessions. So in both cases, the poster sessions and the talent fair, which really is a type of poster session too, because you'll have a poster board behind you. The only real difference is in the first one, you're going to create all the material that's going to go up there based on the work you do, obviously with the benefit of the coaches that work with you and the mentors that work with you. The talent fair, we provide you a third of the poster by giving you your capability profile that will appear there. And then you can add other things that are relevant to your experiences in the other 2/3 of the poster, or the board, really, because it's like a bulletin board where you can tack things up. Okay, so that's the capability demonstration portion. Now, once you've done that, you've completed the applicant phase, and now you're ready to go on and move further along. But to give you a little bit further background on this, as I mentioned, the Skills to Succeed Academy is there not only during your applicant phase, but as you're transitioning. This incredibly robust platform is used by Accenture consultants, their employees, to prepare them to be professional consultants in the field. So it's hugely valuable. And it covers everything from, well, where should I start? There's 6 modules associated. Well, what parts of this field should I look at as a career? How do I get that job? There's 20 modules on getting ready to get that job or that contract. And then success in work. How do I begin to establish the foundation that's going to enable me to advance throughout my career? Okay. Again, all free, all available under the Cyber Ready program with a coach to help navigate that with you. So it is about a pathway. It starts with getting prepared for that capability demonstration. Then you graduate either or and the educational program you're in and the Cyber Ready program that you're in. So you can think of Cyber Ready as a parallel track, your clinical track, whereas your educational track is determined by the courses and degrees that you might earn. Okay. And then ultimately you continue that pathway in the early parts of your career to enable your advancement. So to give you a sense of this, I want to show you a brief little video that was prepared by one of our coaches.
Hello, Coach Barbara here.
You guys hear that okay?
Thanks for viewing this video. In it, we'll explore a definition of coaching.
Right.
And then compare it to other career areas with which you may be more familiar. What you see here is the definition of coaching as defined by the International Coaching Federation. Individual coaches achieve certifications just as students can achieve certifications in areas such as networking proficiency or specific operating systems. Holding a certification shows that you have mastered that material. Now, what makes coaching different from other professions are basically 3 things. The emphasis on partnering, not leading, not telling, not giving solutions, but a coach and a client working together. Secondly, the emphasis on lots of thinking by the client. And finally, personal growth or change that comes about through the coaching. Let's take a look at these more deeply. Client growth is the key measure of coaching success. Obviously, coaching involves at least two individuals, coach and the client. In coaching, you will hear many people use the term accompaniment or walking with a client. It is the coach's job to find out through questioning what the client sees as their goal. What are they trying to achieve? This might be something they want to work on in themselves, like getting better with time management, or a short-term goal, like completing the Skills to Succeed program. Whatever the goal, the coach walks with the client from start to finish. So what happens in this journey? Well, this is where the coach's skills of intense listening and posing powerful questions comes in. If questions are to do the most good, they have to be thought-provoking, helping the client to really examine how they're going to get to their goal. The questions are designed to move the client to a deeper understanding and encourage them to use creativity to generate ideas which can be turned into actions. So with a coach, you will hear lots of questions, but that's exactly what keeps you focused on whatever it is you want to achieve. And now for the so what. The primary purpose of coaching is to help clients grow. This can be growth in self-understanding, understanding others, or understanding processes like completing a course of study. But the measurement of whether coaching has occurred is when the client does something, takes an action step, or makes a personal change that can be either observed or measured. As an example, if a client's goal is to do something about all the wasted time in his or her day, an observable change might be that the client starts using a personal calendar to block off chunks of protected time for the tasks that being a student requires. Shutting off phones and texts during that block of time to lessen interruptions and protect that time so that the coursework can be done. The first step is mentally creating a new schedule, but the action step would be actually doing it and then thinking about the impact of that one small change. What I find interesting about the coaching process is that while the coach helps build awareness, it is the client that makes the changes. The coach accompanies and the client does the work. Now let's take a look at other career areas that share some of the same attributes of coaching. In this chart, the roles of consultant, counselor, mentor, and coach are compared across a list of benefits to the client. I've highlighted certain characteristics within those roles. In this video, the consulting and the mentoring roles will be highlighted. When we look at consultants, we can see that they are hired for their expertise and the ability to identify problems and pose solutions. The client tells them what they want solved, and the consultant provides one or more solutions that the client is expected to implement. The consultant does not transfer his knowledge to the client, but uses it to design a solution. So it is up to the client to either implement the provided solution or not. No client growth, no client learning, no encouragement to actually implement the change. The customer gets what they paid for, a solution. In comparison, the role of mentor is all about telling and transferring their knowledge and skills to the mentee, also called an apprentice. Lots of telling. The apprentice is expected to listen and absorb what is told to them. And in a physical process, they are expected to be able to replicate what was shown to them. Mentoring has been used for thousands of years as the way for new initiates to learn from a master. The mentor sets the agenda and the goal and the evaluation standard. They are the font of knowledge, and the apprentice is expected to absorb everything so that they can become a master at some future point. Now let's talk specifically about coaching. Coaches are always future focused and goal focused, but it is the client that sets the goal, not the coach. The two major skill assets of coaches are their ability to listen deeply to their clients and to be able to ask questions that make their clients think. These questions never have right or wrong answers, so coaches do not judge their clients. Their focus is always and totally on their clients and helping them move from where they are to where they want to be. With coaches, you can be assured that anything you say within a session will never be repeated to anyone. What you will experience is a safe coaching environment and a trust relationship with your coach that will develop over time. So hopefully you can now tease out the major differences in these roles. For those of you who are selected for the Skills to Succeed coaching program, you will have the opportunity to experience having a personal coach. It can be a life-changing experience. Thanks for watching this short video. You now have a solid definition of coaching and an understanding of what differentiates coaching from other professions. All the coaches in the Skills to Succeed program wish you all the best as you prepare yourself for your chosen career.
Okay, so that should hopefully give you a decent idea of what makes the Skills to Succeed coaching program very different from perhaps other experiences you've had up until this point in terms of preparation for your career. So once you've kind of gone through that effort, the purpose of that effort is to prepare you for that cyber ready resident intern phase. And it itself has 3 phases. It has that learning piece where you're continuing. This is a cycle. That's why it's a circle, right? So while you're doing, you're learning. While you're learning, you're doing. And you're continually spiraling your capabilities higher and higher and higher and higher by learning, becoming credentialed, and performing what you've learned and been credentialed for. Typically, we expect our cyber ready interns to have 300 to 500 hours of experience over the course of 4 to 6 months working with clients in this cyclical process. Now, when I say credential, I don't just simply mean that you'll have like a cert that you could go get a test for. Yes, you'll get certs along the way. But what I'm talking about is a practice credential that comes from an organization called Crest. Crest is started in Britain, and what they do is they ensure the quality of the services you're going to perform. With a Crest credential, you can provide your clients assurance that what you're going to do for them is using evidence-based practices that have been certified by an international accreditor. As a Crest supplier, you've got demonstrable expertise. They're basically assuring your clients that you're going to be able to handle their situations, address their situations, or refer them to those who might be able to address something that you're perhaps not yet capable of. And so they can buy with confidence. They can also find you through the Crest directory, which gets you a sort of free marketing, right, to the world of folks that are looking for people. So this Crest organization, we have a partnership with, and as you develop your practice, they can provide the assurances that your clients are looking for, that you'll be able to perform these roles and functions for them. Then in addition to that, there are two types of sponsorship scholarships that organizations work with us for. So one is sponsorship for service, where an industry group or a larger employer is looking for people to bring on board as apprentices, and they will sponsor you through this program with the commitment to you that once you make it through the Cyber Ready intern phase, they will hire you under an apprenticeship program for their organization. And in return for sponsoring you, because there are some costs incurred along the way, they will pay those costs in exchange for a commitment from you to work for them for at least a defined period of time. Usually those commitments are between 1 and 2 years. Similarly, the government offers a very complimentary program called Scholarship for Service. Well, they'll pay for educational expenses, either for undergraduate degrees or graduate degrees, in exchange for your commitment to work for a government agency, either federal, state, or local, when you graduate, and with an apprenticeship along the way that aligns with the resident intern functions. So these are all different ways in which you can utilize the Cyber Ready program, either to prepare your own practice or go work for others, either in industry or in government. Okay, so how do you get started? So first, submit an application. It all starts with that. So there is an application for the Cyber Ready Professional Skills to Succeed coaching program. There is the URL. You could also, and I haven't tested this, so I just set these up. So if one of you wants to take a snap of that and make sure it gets you to the URL, hopefully it does. You never know when you're presenting in Zoom whether an image like a QR code will work. So hopefully it will. It works on my end. I did test that, but I don't know if it works on your end when you're doing it through a mediated, service. So hopefully it does. If not, there is the URL. It's an easy URL to remember because it's a short URL. But that will take you to a screen that looks basically like this. So the Cyber Ready Professional Skills to Succeed program application, you can see there's registration levels based on whether you're not currently a member of the student association, or you're what we call a premium or paid member of the association, or you're a participant member, which is free. So if you're not yet a member of the association, well, at a minimum, you're going to want to be a participant because it doesn't cost anything. And I believe Gus will actually sign you up for that anyway. Once you're in one of our webinars, you'll get connected in as a free participant. But you get a lot more benefits, obviously, as a premium member. I'll come more to that at the end of the talk. So that will get you introduced to employers, get you a personal coach, get you the skills you need to succeed. There's more information on that registration page about that. And of course, allow you to get information on program updates, to see a webcast recording further about that particular program, and of course, to register for it, which will allow you to then fill out the application and be considered for inclusion in the program. Okay, so that's step one. Got to get in the program. Step two, enroll in the Raise the Bar Mastery Badge program. That's your first assessment. That will produce the capability profile that I mentioned earlier that will inform you where your various skill sets are, and also enable you, if you wish, to have that information shared with prospective employers and allow you to present at the talent fair at one of our events. So again, just like I mentioned before, QR code, we got the short URL, but you also have another opportunity, which is next week, literally a week from tonight, as a matter of fact, at 7 o'clock. In my old world, we used to watch Batman on TV. They'd say, same bat channel, same bat time, same bat channel. So similar idea here. right? Same time, same place, Zoom. We'll be doing a webinar just about the Raise the Bar Mastery Badge program and about that assessment. So if you want to know more about the assessment, come next week. And you can register for that by clicking the QR code or that URL. Okay. Number 3. Now you're really going to step up your game and come to a proposal development workshop where you'll be assigned a mentor to help develop your proposal for either having a talent fair booth or administering or facilitating an evidence-based session. Now, that might sound, a little scary for some that, hey, I've never delivered or managed a session at a conference before. Here's the great news. All you need is an idea. That's why our coaches are there. They're there to help you take that rough idea and convert it into the appropriate type of session. Some of the easiest types are called a dialogue, where you're doing nothing but asking a series of questions to the attendees who are going to be giving you ideas that then enable you to develop expertise in an area that perhaps not only you don't have, but nobody has. And so it's basically like having a whole bunch of teachers in one room all working for you. And then your coach will help you develop out what are these questions about this topic. And by gathering the data, you'll have information that frankly, nobody else has. And one of the things I spent much of my early life as a consultant, one of the things you learn as a consultant is, and in fact, I actually had, prior to Accenture was actually founded originally as Anderson Consulting from Arthur Anderson. I was very fortunate to have as my mentor and coach one of the founders of Accenture Consulting, a guy named Jim Ball. And Jim told me, anybody can be a consultant. You're born with what you need. All you need is 2 of these and 2 of these and 1 of these. And as long as you learn to observe and listen twice as much as you talk, you'll become a successful consultant. And so the method we use in the dialogues teaches you how to observe and listen. And then from that, you create the expertise that now you can tell people, hey, here's what we found when we talked to a number of experts in this area. Here's what they said you should do about this particular issue. Immediately, you've become the expert in the field and you knew nothing about it, perhaps, before you started. But you brought the right people together, you asked them the right questions, and now all of a sudden you're the expert. That's all a consultant does. Okay? So you have a chance to do that at our workshops. You can even do more than one if you'd like. And then in addition to that, of course, there is the talent fair at the 3CSs, and you could also have a coach help you with that. So the next PDW, as we call them, Proposal Development Workshop, the next PDW is February 24th from 9:30 to 5. It's at our campus at Prince George's Community College, but it's also available online if that's not convenient. However, we do offer travel stipends and participant stipends, although not a lot, $200, if you come to these events in person. So keep that in mind. If you have that date open, it is a Saturday, and you'd be willing to travel to the event, the stipend typically will get you there and, of course, give you a little spending money besides. Okay? And again, of course, there's the bit.ly for that and the QR code that allows you to register. There also, though, will be additional ones coming up because the PDW is getting you prepared to actually do that session, whether it be an evidence-based session or a talent fair session at the actual event. So the Mid-Atlantic 3CS is March 22nd to 23rd, roughly a month after that proposal development workshop. So you'll have a month to work with your coach and get you ready for this event that will be held at the Prince George's Community College campus. Again, stipends are available to help support travel to that event. So the light blue on the left is the QR code to MA3CS, Mid-Atlantic 3CS. Okay. We also, though, a month later, will be having one up in the Northeast. That will be in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. The link is there, and the QR code will take you to more information about that. So depending on where you're located, you could come to Mid-Atlantic, you could go to the Northeast, and frankly, you could go to both if you really wanted to, and participate and get to meet people in the field. There's a huge amount of networking opportunities. A lot goes on at these events that I'm not covering here today, but is discussed in these links to get more information. Finally, after this, and I didn't want to cloud the page with lots of other things, but We will shortly be releasing the registration page for the national 3CS. Now, working at a regional will help qualify you to present at a national event. The national event is held in Tampa, Florida. It will be May 9th through 11th, so roughly a month after Northeast. And then we'll be building more of these throughout the country. Great Lakes will happen later in the year, Southwest will happen later in the year, et cetera. And we're going to be launching our first international 3CS that will occur in Eastern Europe in 2025. Okay, finally, for you to really engage in these programs, you want to be doing what you're doing tonight, engage in a National Cybersecurity Student Association event. And so NCSA, as we affectionately call it, is a consortium of higher ed institutions, the businesses, the government agencies, and of course, you, students that are wanting to learn how to develop themselves to enter this field or advance in this field. There are thousands of people involved. These numbers are old. We have actually over 7,000 now, I think over 7,500 even, in 525 institutes of higher learning all across the globe. What are the objectives of this association? Well, you can see them here. Support you, increase your awareness, educate you, get you access to programs like this, and more specifically, those programs that will raise your capability maturity, such as the assessments and the competency-based mastery learning instruction. Encourage you through sharing resources and giving you opportunities to collaborate with your peers. We have games that we play. We run a series of competition events throughout the year and other types of games that allow you to ready your skills in real-time interactive exercises. In fact, at the 3CS, we have something called the Cyber Arcade, where you get a chance to play with those things while you're there at the event. So another reason to come to the 3CSs. And then, of course, facilitate your recruitment and your retention in the role, and provide a tremendous amount of support for those underrepresented populations that need that extra support sometimes to get into the field. So there's just a list, a whole bunch of things that are involved in what we call the NCSA chapters. So chapters are where the institution establishes a club. It could be piggybacking on an existing club, like if you have a hacker club at your college or university, this could easily be part of that. And they just get recognized as an NCSA chapter as their club. And that as a club gets you access to lots of important things like discounts. So let me just show you how that might work. So here's the Mid-Atlantic Capabilities and Career Symposia. I gave you the link earlier that'll take you to this page. There's our lovely Center for Performing Arts on campus. Actually, I think that's the Center for Information Management. I think about it, I mean, the Advanced Technology Center. Anyway, that's a picture of a building on Prince George's campus. But if you look down this list of types of registrants, you will find that you can sign up as a student and you get access to some things like stipends. That stipend access is first and foremost provided to student chapter members. So if you're going to receive a stipend to attend one of these proposal development workshops I mentioned earlier, well, we don't have unlimited funds. I wish we did. So with the limited funds we have to support travel, we first and foremost provide those to students who are members of a NCSA chapter. So if your institution doesn't already have one, you're going to want to talk to your faculty, talk to whatever clubs might already exist in this area and say, hey, we should start one because we'll be able to save a lot of money. In fact, we'll literally get money if we're a chapter because we can get access to these stipends and be given priority access for doing so. If we still have funds left over after all chapter members are accepted, then we'll give these stipends to those who are premium members of NCSA, those who have paid. It's only $20, so not a big amount of money. But if you're a $20 paid member, what we call a premium member, then you're next in line after the chapter members. So, if you can't yet form a chapter, don't worry too much. There's usually funds left over for the premium members. And then finally, if we've exhausted all the premium member applications, we will make it available to others as well. So that's an example of one of the benefits you can get, but that's not the only one. So if you look at the actual event itself, like the 3CS, again, I'll use the example of Mid-Atlantic. You'll see there's, of course, discounts for early bird admission, but it's even cheaper for somebody who is a chapter member. Here's a chapter member, $12.50. Versus pre-registration, again, a 50% discount for somebody who is a chapter member from the general pre-registration amount. So a substantial amount of discounts available to someone who is part of an NCSA chapter or is a premium member of NCSA. So you're going to want to think about these different programs we offer. We'd love to have you be part of the association if you're not already. Of course, you'll get an invite to be a participating member. That doesn't come with the discounts, though. You'll have to upgrade to premium status, $20, or form a chapter or form a chapter. And then, you'll have access to some of these other capabilities. So that's pretty much our event for tonight. Went a few minutes over. I apologize for taking a little more of your time, but we had that initial start. It actually was exactly the amount of time we said it was going to be, but it took us a few minutes to get started because we're waiting for others to come in. So are there any questions, anything that I didn't cover or anything you would like to know more about?
David, that was really, really great presentation.
Thank you.
I had a tremendous exposure to what NCSA is doing in the students' interest and the people who want to get into these kind of careers. And then the ongoing programs in conjunction with the sponsors or even the companies where they would like to take them as apprenticeship is a great opportunity for anyone to work for, because the word says in your program, cyber ready. So you're already ready to get into the industry. It's a phenomenal work which you've done. I have only one question. It's just a silly question, maybe. I do not know what membership I have. How do I find that out? I probably would like to graduate myself so that I can get more benefit. It's a silly question, but then it makes sense.
Fair enough. Well, give me a sec. I'll look you up. And
I
I'll tell you.
appreciate that.
I don't know off the top of my head, obviously, with over 7,000 members. It'd be
I'm
amazing.
I've converted him to participant right now, but if you want to move to a different one, it's up to you.
There you go. There's your answer.
I'm sorry,
So-
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
So you're a student association participant member.
Okay.
But David, I don't know if there's another.
Yeah, you'd have to upgrade to premium to be a premium member, and depending on what institution you're affiliated with, you'd have to work with them to become a chapter. So Gus, talk a little bit about what it takes to become a chapter.
Yeah. To start a chapter, you could be a 2-year, 4-year university. So you have to have a president, vice president, secretary, and a treasurer officer position. 3 officers minimum. You have to fill out this MOU by the faculty has filled it out. And you have to have a 1-year premium membership. So it's $19.99 for a year for the membership. In order to start the chapter. If you don't want to start a chapter, you just want to become a member, you can become a participant member, which you are already. And there's another option for half of a year membership, which is, I believe, is $12.99. But if you want the whole year, it's $20. So it's better off just getting a $20 membership. Right. But it's really easy to start a chapter. I put my information in the chat box. If you want to check it out, you can email me. We can talk more. But you have to be a student at a college or university to start a chapter.
Thank you very much, Gus. But let me tell you where my position is. I actually did with 2 of the colleges, one in Northern Virginia, Community College, and then came back to working with Reynolds Community College in Richmond because I live now in Richmond. So I do not know the ways in which I should go about talking to them to get a chapter through the faculty or anyone else, because I had to do a lot of other programs with them. So I put a halt on completing the cybersecurity. And I also did the certified ethical hacking program outside as well. So there were a number of factors which made me not complete the program to get a certificate per se. So if I may have to go back to do that, I'm not sure if that is what you guys are looking for, to talk to the faculty to do it, or without that being completed. I've always done about maybe 4 or 6 semesters. completing all the programs which are enumerated with the cybersecurity course. The last of the lot was probably, if I'm understanding or remembering correct, was when the faculty told me that the IT, you need to complete something on the hands-on lab experience. That was the only one which was left out. Like I did the forensics, I did the networking, everything else associated with it. So given this information, which I'm not sure how I'm going to go to do that, if you can help me on that, Gus, that would be great.
Well, since you're a participant already, you still can participate in the Skills to Succeed program. You just won't receive discounts going to the conference. But you can still attend the conference as a participant. You still get a little bit discount to attend the conference. You can still participate in the modules in the Accenture program. So there's a lot you can still participate in. It's just if you want the maximum benefit to get the maximum discount, you have to have it be a student. You have to have a student chapter to be a member of it. But you can still participate in all the programs.
So does that mean I do not avail of those discounts if I'm not continuing with the college on the chapter, or if I'm away from the college as of now and then participate, I would be paying a higher amount for participation? Is that what it means?
Yeah, if you don't have a .edu email is the key, right? So that .edu email is what you have to register as a student, right, Kes? And you can be a paid or what we call premium member. That's that $20 a year as a registered student. That'll be using your .edu email address. Now it does ask though that and of course we expect you to be honest that you are still pursuing a degree with or at least some form of education to that institution. If that isn't true, there is a like a former student. What do we call it, Gus? The not emeritus, the young professional, I guess we call it. It isn't meant to be age. It's meant to be, sort of new to the field.
Right.
And that's another option, right? Is to become a young professional member of the organization. So
I had to put I had to put a pause on the continuation of the education. That's about it. It's not that interesting that I wouldn't want to do that. I put a pause to continue something else, which came up with a scholarship because I'm passionate about the pharmacy as well. So I started continuing there, put a break on that, and I finished the pharmacy as a pharmacy tech. I am a certified pharmacy technician. So I now have to pursue and continue with the balance of the chapters which are remaining to complete with the cybersecurity to get that associate degree. That's where I stand.
I understand. Okay, so that'd be great. So as long as you're continuing going back, again, we've worked with a number of the Virginia community colleges. I actually live in Virginia, so
nice.
and we in fact we had a member of the Northern Virginia College faculty at he's actually one of the mentors that works with us as a session proposal development workshop mentor, Chola. So Chola is, so you had mentioned you were up that way, I guess, and now you're down in Richmond. So Tidewater, we've worked with Tidewater Community College pretty extensively, and most of the others. So where that would start, first of all, again, at a minimum, you're going to need this anyway. Become a premium member, $20.
Okay.
Secondly, reach out to your faculty and raise the point to them. Hey, we should start an NCSA chapter. And again, it doesn't require much. All you need is you plus two more people. 2 more students, a faculty member who's willing to advise you. If you have more than that, that's great. But you only need really that. You need a faculty advisor and 3 students, each of which would take one of the officer roles. The information, Gus, could you put, if you haven't already, right? You probably already put into the chat. He always does this. But anyway, there's a link that will get you access to the how to sign up for information about the student association that will get that charter and all that stuff that you need to start a chapter. And that's it. Once that faculty advisor and those students get together, you fill out a little bit of paperwork, you're a chapter.
May I request you for 2 things? I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
One is, I opt to take it up with a premium member straight away. That's done, Kay. But the other thing which you did mention about talking to the faculty and 2 of the members, if you could enumerate the points which I need to talk to them about, if you can send me an email, How
Yes.
I'm going to go about doing it, as Gus has mentioned, is data out here as well. If that can come by on my email, I'm going to take it up seriously on that one. To
Very
make
good, very good.
Reynolds also part of it. Yep. I'm
Yeah,
sorry
and
to
again,
take in so much of time.
there is a chapter in inquiry.
The information is, there's a link. So the information, there's a web link in the chat box. It takes you to the Student Association chapters page. It tells you all the information about the chapters, everything you need to know. There is an inquiry checklist. So there's a checklist that shows you all you need to start it. And then when you're ready to start your chapter, there's a link to start the chapter. So you just hit that link, fill out the form, I'll receive it, and then I'll connect with you, and then we'll go from there.
I'll appreciate, Gus, if you could do that, because
Yeah. So
parallelly,
there it is. It's
I'm working on some of the
cyberstreets.org.
clients on the financial side, so I probably may not be able to copy this what you have on your chat.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm
enough.
sorry about that, but if
Okay.
you could
Yeah,
send
no
that out
problem.
on my email, that'll be the great thing I can.
Well,
look
you know,
forward
one of the things, correct me if I'm wrong, and here's actually, I just realized we had this right after this. I had all this information in the slide. Well, Gus, we're going to be making available the recording of today's session. And correct me if I'm wrong, Gus, we also send them, I think, the slides for the session to those who attended. So
That's
you'll
great.
get all of this, that you'll have
That's
those
great.
links at you with the QR codes.
Fantastic.
And the question is, do we have, I guess we don't. But before we send it to you, I will add the link and the QR code for what Gus put in the chat to this slide, and then you'll have everything.
I'll
So,
appreciate that.
sounds good. All
Thank you
right.
very
Well,
much.
thank
You've
you
been
very
very
much,
helpful,
Dave, for
both of
attending
you,
tonight's session.
David,
And,
as well as Gus. Wonderful session. I appreciate
all
it.
right, fantastic. Have a wonderful evening, and we hope to see you next week at next week's event.
Absolutely.
All righty, take care
Good
now.
evening. Good evening.
Good evening.